It turns out these videos that I'm making, asking sincere questions about people who are gay, they're finding an audience, and people are engaging in this. And I guess I've got more questions or thoughts about it, and I just want to see what the rest of the world feels about this. So I made a video that kind of started this all by asking, is it possible that some people who are gay were not born that way? That was my sincere question. I'm not here to say either way. I'm just asking the question. And this is, I guess, maybe the official sequel to that video. Something I wonder is, let me ask a more specific question. Is it possible that certain psychological events that happen in someone's life at a younger age can ultimately alter their psychology to where they're attracted now to the same gender? That's what I'm asking. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody. Let's say that 95% of people who are gay were born that way. Is it possible that another percent, maybe 5%, maybe 2%, maybe 3%, is it possible that some people are not born gay, but instead some kind of psychological event happened to them to make them disconnect from being attracted to the opposite sex and instead their own? I'm going to give you a few examples I've seen throughout my life, which I've theorized on, and I just want your opinion on whether you think that these examples are legitimate. Because remember, I'm not here to tell you this is how it is. I'm asking, is it possible this could be the case for some people who are gay? I'm only asking, and I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm asking, so educate me, enlighten me. Okay? I've seen more than one example of someone who was obese, like from a child, like elementary school, like first grade, second, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and then by the time they get to high school, they're gay. They like girls, and I've seen this with more than one boy like that I can think of in my own life that I know about. They liked girls the whole time, but girls didn't really like them because, and I don't mean overweight, I mean they were like obese, noticeably obese, exceptionally obese. So what happened was girls didn't treat these boys the same way because he was the really, really, really overweight kid. And so he was never acknowledged as a boy in certain ways because girls wouldn't go out with him or whatever it is. So by high school, he was now instead attracted to men. He was never seen as a boy, and that because of his size. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen this more than once. What happens once they get to high school? They come out of the closet and now they're gay. That would be a psychological event that was based on something physical that in turn, I've seen that more than once. So I'm asking a question, is that possible? I'm not saying it's what, I'm asking the question, is that possible? Another one, this is to me the main one that is the most obvious one. And I don't want to stereotype, I don't want to make light of this. I'm asking a question. What about for people who at a young age are sexually assaulted? And it's an awful thing, and I hate to even say it out loud, but I've known people throughout my life where that was the case. And they're a child. Maybe at the oldest even a teen. When this happens, they're sexually assaulted in some way. When they become an adult, a young adult, they disassociate their attraction to the opposite sex because of that traumatic psychological event, and now they're attracted now to the same gender. I've seen that many, many times. Here's another one. The father disconnect. And I guess actually this is probably the biggest one that I see. If someone has some kind of negative or absent father situation, okay? Whether they never knew their father, but more importantly, what I see is a negative father situation. Like you grew up as the preacher's son, and your dad was always so hard on you, always giving you a hard time that you've got to be a better person, you got to act better, and all this. And it's all about all these rules all the time, and you just didn't. So it just kind of rewired things. I've seen this more than once. So then the preacher's son ultimately, he doesn't want all these rules. I've seen it more than once. Or I've seen people who, maybe the dad left, raised single mom, and the mom doesn't have a positive portrayal of men because of her husband leaving her with her kids to raise them alone. She never has anything positive to say about men. And ultimately that son or daughter is taught not to trust men. If it's a female or not, either way, they're taught not to trust men. And ultimately the female says, okay, well, maybe I'm better off with women. Or maybe the son, because he has such a negative or absent relationship with his father, ultimately is trying to find that in a mate or a boyfriend or whatever I should say, a husband, okay? Whatever I need to say. So I'm seeing lots of psychological events that I've seen that happen in other people's life. They end up becoming gay, and I can't think it's simply because they were born that way. You know, when I think of people who are gay, like often what I see is that even if you explore the relationship with their father, it would be a very absent or a very negative situation. So here's what I'm here to say. I'm closing the video by saying this. Are some people born gay? Let's say they are. And that's not what I'm concerned about. Are most people born gay? Are 99% of people born gay? I'm not concerned with the answer on that. Here's what I'm asking. What about the rest? Whether it's 1%, 3%, 5%, 10%, what is it possible that some percentage of the population was not actually born gay, but instead some kind of traumatic psychological event occurred and it altered how they would be attracted physically to other people? Whether they were sexually assaulted, whether they had some kind of physical reason why they weren't seen as one with their own gender, or there's some kind of negative or absent father situation in which they identify either in rebellion or in some kind of way to find a positive male figure in their life. Okay? I'm not saying this is the case with all people who are gay. I'm asking a question. Is there some percentage of gay people that they weren't born gay, but ultimately psychologically became that way because of something that happened? Is there any percentage of people who are gay who would say, yeah, you know, you're saying some things that are actually legitimate? 1% of gay people? 3%? 5%? Any percent? Are there any exceptions to the rule that people are born gay? I think I've submitted some decent theories. You can say, you know what, that's all wrong. None of that's true. All people are born gay. And I'll say, okay, thank you for participating. But is there anybody else out there who's skeptical to think that not all people who are gay were born that way, that there could actually be other reasons? Okay? I'm wanting to be enlightened because I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking. Here we go.